brief overview of our program, I will first describe the CDSP, so French Center for Sociopolitical Data, and its context. And then I will present the past work we did on user satisfaction and user experience, and then the present study, and finally, what we want to do in the future and what we are doing right now to use this study. So the French Center for Sociopolitical Data was created in 2006 with Sciences Po and the French Center for National Scientific Research. We provide about 350 databases in social science on the Quetelet Projet d'eau diffusion portal, which is the CESDA provider for France. And we mainly provide election results and studies about sociopolitical sociology, qualitative and quantitative studies. We are about 20 engineers reparted in 3 teams, so data collection, data sharing, and digital projects. A brief overview of the use of the data we provide. You can see there how many projects were authorized by year between 2014 and 2020. So we began quite slow, but then we had a nice growth to about 1,000 authorized projects by year. The demands come mainly from France, but also from Europe and North America, about 25 countries in total. You can see there. And most of the people who ask for data are from the academic public, mostly researchers, PhD students, and students. We have also some engineers or librarians. So the past work done in the CDSP was done with Projet d'eau, the EDDI and EDDI, which are French demographic institute and French Institute for Archives of the Public Statistics. And it was a quantitative survey, which has had about a little bit less than 400 respondents. So almost 10% of the portal users responded. The results showed that we had a very, very nice satisfaction of the service, and specifically for documentation. But we also found that a little part of them have had difficulties to find the data they want. And most of them heard about the service of the CDSP and Quetelet Projet d'eau by co-workers or places, but it was mainly from word of mouth. The present study wanted to explore further the user experience in this paradigm that we don't know everything. I mean by that, we can do the best we want. We are not the user. The user have a different perspective, a different needs. So we want to understand how they think, how they use the data, and what can they learn to us. So we used qualitative methodology, which are interviews, with focus on the fair problematics, so metadata and accessibility. Our goals were to evaluate the survey's reusability, so data, metadata usability, because it's a nice thing to provide and diffuse data, but if they are not usable, it's really a big problem. So it was one of the main goals. The second was to understand the use of our tools, which we provide several tools. One is the question base, which provide to the variables of the studies. A second was BigQuali with our services for qualitative studies. And the last one is Data Sciences Po, which is our new database. And the last was to discover unknown needs, because as I said, we don't necessarily know what the people need. Because you can have the best product if it's produced by experts for experts. It can be a problem for novices who just don't have as much understanding of the subject as we do. So let's go. The first one was launched at the spring. We targeted users who have downloaded one or more studies in the last year because we thought it was a little bit strange to talk to people who had maybe downloaded the data 5 years ago. They might not have the best memories of how it got, how it was going. And we have quite disappointing numbers of responders. So at the time, only 6 interviews were finished, but more are in the agenda. And the interview was semi-directive, so we had a grade of questions with large freedom in each answer, because you have to let freedom to the people to know what they want. The results were that first, we have a big variety of users and projects. By that, I mean we have research project in which the data can be the core of the project, or just something more exploratory to just clarify some direction the researchers want to go. It can be for classes, it can be for auto formation. So we have the several profile and several projects kind. The second point is we are, and we are quite proud of it, confirmation of the satisfaction about the quality of the data and the quality of the metadata. So people did not experience problem with the use of the data, and to understand it with the documentation we provide with DDI. So it's a very good thing, because as I said previously, we could have done something wonderful of our point of view, but which will not work for the people who use the data daily. So it was quite pleasing. But what we have to is the goal was to understand and discover other needs, other expectations. And so one of the main points we had was that people don't hear a lot about our services, which is quite problematic because we can't just advertise on the TV, not in the budget. So most of people, like I said previously, heard about qualitative Projet d'eau or CDSP or the other French service of data center, mostly by their co-workers or in a class or with someone. And it's quite problematic because it means that a lot of students, of researchers, or PhD students just don't know that what we do exists. So it relies on the accessibility of our data, because if people don't know that we exist, we are missing a lot of targets. So I think it's a big point, and I will present then what we are going to do right now to make it better. And the second expectations, which was recurrent, is a need to lighter data sets, if I may say, which is that the professors who want to use the data in classes to wherever it's for illustrator the class, or just train to manipulate data, they have to download big projects, big studies, which are several hundred variables, a massive documentation, which is several hundred pages. And it's problematic to them because they don't have necessarily the time to do this. So it was something we heard a lot. And so for the future and quite the present, what we are doing or have already done with these interviews is the production of pedagogic databases, which are focused on learning. What we did in practice was simplify the data, just keeping a few, maybe around 50 variables with just a simple CSV table for the documentation. And the goal was really to just, when the professor wants to take a study, it just has to take the documentation, see what it is going to use, and then use the data. And the goal is really to save them a lot of time, because researchers in most countries do a lot of things, and we think it's a thing to save them this time. So it was the first step we took. Then a big step is the communication about our services, because I was a student not so long ago, just 2 years ago, and I would have been quite pleased to know that something like the CDSP exists, and I just didn't know. And I would have loved to have this just to work on data, and quality data, not just random data to look on the internet with locality. And so a lot has been doing in France lately with the Projedo, which develop a university data platform in several universities. And the goal is to make our services more knowledgeable to mainly universities, and particularly to students, because students of now are the researchers of tomorrow. And we want them to know that it exists, it saves them time, it saves them money, it's quality data. So it's really important for us. And we are implicated in several networks, so as MATES-HS, which is the French human science network for engineers, the Data Week for Projedo, which is a week of events next week, based on the data diffusion, and punctual presentation to some laboratory or research center. I think it's very important because we need to be known to have a public. It's really important. We'll also have this partnership with the other French universities through the University Data Platform. And then now we will provide our metadata in free access on our new dataverse. Then what is coming in the future? We first want to do a second wave of interviews. Why? Because as I said, 6 is not a lot, and I won't be happy until we have many more. And even if one interview of 1 hour deep is really important and it learns us a lot, it's not enough when we have several hundred users by year. So we want to do also more pedagogic databases on more subjects, because we have a lot of studies on different topics, and the more topics we cover, the more students we can reach. More partnership and a lot more of communication. Thank you.